You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. I like how they're already referencing how Shiloh can be a bit wishy-washy already. I forgot about Shiloh. Shiloh? He's friends with my older sister, and he's supposed to hang out here this afternoon. Do I have to see him? You don't have to do anything, but he's going to be here. Anyway, I found this gigantic shell here stuck in an even bigger rock. You pulled out seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the past few years, you'd learned some of their scientific names. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Your voice faltered a little bit, but you kept going as best as you could. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like the full force of his attention. Like when you almost got pinched by a hermit crab while searching for shells, and after watching him scuttle back into the ocean, you found another empty shell that was almost a twin to his home. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, even if it was only directed at the shells. Kids, come down to the living room! You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guess it was because you found each other by accident and a parent didn't make it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great. Okay, but be careful. You should have asked. Okay, but be careful. I will. You weren't sure if you could trust someone else with your treasures yet, so you stayed next to him while you opened the lid and peered inside. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. My favorite color. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. That's my favorite too. I like a different one best. I can show it to you. You can take it. That's my favorite too. Cove smiled at you and you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch with shades of dark and light orange. If you'd held it to your ear, you could practically hear the ocean. I found that one last summer when we went to the beach on a picnic. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person had knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. It's just Shiloh, and where would you even go? He's at our door. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. Do you want to break your other arm? Shiloh is the least scary person alive. Cheer up, Shiloh's not gonna hurt. Cheer up, Shiloh's gonna hide you. Please don't get hurt. I'll come with you. Good idea, let's go. Shiloh's the least scary person alive. Every single bunny rabbit is scarier than Shiloh. But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. You teased him. You comforted him. You encouraged him. I would have just been like, okay. I wouldn't have teased him, but I probably would have just, like, changed the subject. If there was, like, a change the subject thing. You comforted him. You encouraged him. He's not bad. Really, Shiloh is going to be more scared of you than you are of him. Okay. Shiloh poked his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he'd heard what you'd been saying or not, but you guessed that he had.
Hi!
Hi, Hark! And hi, Cove? Cove shot an uneasy glance. Hi. I'm Shiloh. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. You have a lot of freckles. Right, I do. I miss baby Shiloh. He was so adorable. What are you guys doing? We're looking at shells.
Can I do it too?
Awesome, can I do it too? Cove shrugged and looked back at your box of beach findings. What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else. This is a scallop shell I found last week. I kept it because it looks neat. It's a pretty color, kind of like my cat. Oh, that's not Shiloh, that's Cove. It's a pretty color, kind of like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wraps around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay.
Huh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
I
I guess. I like those colors too. There are better colors. Not sure how to deal with the suddenly more awkward silence. You look back at your shells. There are better colors. There are better colors. Says you. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Oh. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach. Probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too, right, Hark? The park is fun. I love it. The park is pretty great. No, I love it. Yeah, it's right at the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. It sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short she could always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Hark! Shiloh! Hi! She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to the stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You weren't sure if this was an improvement. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured widely with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Liz's speech, Cove whispered in your ear, quiet enough that the others wouldn't overhear. I thought kids couldn't own places like parks or hills. I like that continuity. That's a really good continuity. You couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Hark's age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is a land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth.
Oh.
Oh. For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted, and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Only some of them don't like kids. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. Yeah, they're really bad. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. It's less about standing up to Cove and more about taking down my sister a notch. I want to be a little bit more challenging against Lizzie. Like, I'm calling her more of her BS as much as possible this playthrough. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing her worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Hark in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Oh, I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot, too. All the building tension in this air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely, you didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. Wah is right. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. That first summer, you hadn't really been interested in him one way or another. He was just kind of a fact of life, someone you met with because he was there. Of course, that was only the start of things. Interesting. Alright, that definitely flew by way faster than it did before. So from here, I have to remember if any of these... I don't remember if any of these were Derek scenes, and if none of these were Derek scenes, I don't remember. I'm just gonna have to remind myself. Then I'm just gonna go and skip over to the next step, honestly, just to keep things moving. But I will say, it is really interesting. I do feel a vast difference. I mean, it's not dramatically different, but I 100% feel the difference between my relationship with Cove up to this point versus my relationship with Cove in the first session or the first playthrough. Even though it's been more than a year since I played this and I don't remember again all the details, it definitely feels like I'm getting some new like scenes and new dialogue choices and things like that. And yeah, again, I feel bad because I don't want to be borderline mean to Cove. I think some of my choices was a little meaner to him than it had been, but I think I'm still trying to balance that out too with nicer things, because I did stand up to Cove on a number of occasions. So I'm trying to play it as middle ground as I can. If I ever was like particularly mean to him in one dialogue choice, I might be particularly nice to him in another dialogue choice, so it all like it's just balanced. But I think that's realistic. I feel like in life you're gonna meet people and they might even be sort of forced upon your life, and you may be more indifferent to them. You know, so there's just some people that maybe you just end up not clicking with, and you just end up not really becoming more than acquaintances with, you know, more than you know, you may not even be able to become really good friends, and that's okay because everybody is different, and I don't think people are supposed to be BFFs with every single person, because, you know, everyone has their own, everyone clicks with people differently, and that's not a bad thing at all. Okay, so I pretty much verified that Derek, I reminded myself, doesn't actually appear until step 2. So we're just gonna skip over these moments and just fly right into, and then summer ended. Yeah, I'm sure. Nothing eventful happened. I'm curious how this, if anything, plays out differently if you just skip over all of the moments, because the whole point of the moments is establishing that relationship with Cove and forming that bond with Cove. So I'm curious if like none of that actually happened, how does this play out? I'd love to see a difference, if at all. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your moms and Lizzie as the four of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping streets now. Neither did I. Oh no, we are so dull. Let's get out more. He didn't do real magic, Mom. How did you figure that one out? 'Cause I know that's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Please, can we just play a little longer? We have to keep playing before it's too late. It is almost over. You put on your best puppy dog eyes. Lizzie may not want to, but you planned on going home. Please, can we play just a little longer? Mom looked down at you with a sigh, and you clasped your hands together to give your plea some extra appeal. I'll help with dinner tomorrow. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Sorry. We'll help with dinner tomorrow. You immediately nodded in agreement with the very clever offer, shifting closer to Lizzie since your parents can't possibly resist the power of you two combined. Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. Well... Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
All right. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. So much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Tines and Trinkets. Ooh, or maybe the playground. Or the fireflies would probably be coming out, right? Don't I get a say in this? You silently made your plans. We can't go too far. I'm going home. Don't I get a say in this? Lizzie looked over at you, narrowing her eyes like she was very seriously contemplating the answer to that question. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself. Yeah, I am challenging Lizzie all the way. Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots of plans if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she was disappearing off down the road. You followed Lizzie. You stayed outside. No, forget Lizzie. Forget my sister. I'm staying outside. You watched Lizzie run off, twisting your lips as you considered what to do. In the end, the pretty sky and the soothing sounds of waves won out. You stayed off the path, grinning at the feel of the sand, quickly filling in the empty space in your flip-flops. That was fun for a while, but you grew bored eventually. How else could you enjoy the remainder of your time at the beach? You looked for seashells. You drew in the wet sand. You roamed around. I'm gonna look for seashells. You walked to the shoreline, peering at any debris that washed up. Most of it was just seaweed, rocks, and trash, though now and then you'd spot a seashell. You picked up the ones that stood out until you had a nice little collection. It was a great evening, but soon enough you had your fill and were ready to join the rest of your family back home. Not too much further down, you spotted a familiar green head of hair moseying along the shore. You kept going. You went to see Cove was up to. We're not really like friends. Like if we haven't been hanging out this whole time, if he's just, you know, a kid who's also in the neighborhood, and we haven't defined our friendship. We haven't defined a relationship any more than just friends. You kept going. Cove looked like he was busy doing something on his own, and you were heading home anyway, so you turned your eyes back to the road and kept moving. When you arrived, you saw your mother in the kitchen, still working on dinner. You shut the door behind you, shivering lightly as you adjusted to the more pleasant temperature inside. Welcome home.
Hi.
Hi, sweetie. Oh, Hark, will you set the table? You'd been on your way to your room. You stare longingly in that direction as you consider the question. Mom hadn't said you had to help. Okay, what's in it for me? Do I have to? Lizzie isn't helping. You pretend you didn't hear. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll do it. I was an obedient kid. Even though you had hoped to play, the fond look your mom sent you made it worthwhile. After you finished setting up the plates, you stayed in the kitchen chatting with your parents. It seemed like now that summer was winding down, time was speeding by. Soon it was time to eat. Lizzie talked about the busy schedule that she'd made for herself tomorrow, and you watched the window and thought about how much you're going to miss the long, fun-filled days of sun and play. That night, it was hard to sleep for some reason. You started blankly at the bits of dust and stuff floating in the air. Wouldn't that be stared? I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be stared blankly. Summer would be over soon. School would be starting up again. You couldn't help but feel excited, scared, glad, baffled, strange. I was always excited for the new school year. I enjoyed school. I enjoyed the new year. I enjoyed seeing my friends again. That was the thing that was sad, is that over the summer, I didn't really have, again, kids in my neighborhood. I didn't really get to play with anyone over summer vacation. I missed my friends at school. That was really when I had my social life, was during the school year. So I'm excited to see my friends again. You're looking forward to seeing your friends again. See? Boom. Meeting your new teachers. Boom. That's also fun too. Sure, you wouldn't be able to leisurely stroll on the beach or run around outside all day, but learning was fun too. A different sort of fun. And it was all right around the corner. That was super short. Crazy short. Crazy short. In between. Okay, I mean, pretty much everything is about the same. Now we're in step 2. Yeah. Medium. This is when this middle school-ish area, that's when I did start having glasses. So I'll put on glasses right now since I didn't have them. I didn't have the Harry Potter ones. Yeah, I think I had the half-oval ones. Yeah, I had half-oval ones. Not the round Harry Potter ones. This is pretty much still braces. In middle school, I did have braces in middle school. So, yeah, I think this is pretty accurate. Yeah, done. My feelings for Cove, direct and indifferent. Yeah. And then begin step 2 at direct indifference. You won't be able to change it again until step 3. Yes. Customize Cove. Choose to customize Cove yourself or let his prior experience determine it. I'm just gonna let my prior experience with him. Appearance. Sure. I mean, I like his appearance. Shirt, pants, left wrist. I mean, I'm just gonna let... Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna let my... However I treat... This is how you feel towards Derek for this step. Yes! It can be the same or different from how you feel towards Cove. Heck yes! Crush. Definitely crushing on Derek. Direct. Definitely direct and crush. Yeah, relaxed, nervous. I like how you can define this from the beginning. Super cool. Ready. Begin step 2 at direct crush. Yes. August ended. September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school he was alright, but kept his distance from the other kids, from what you saw anyway. He would pass by you in the hallway, adolescent indifference. He would pass by you in the hallway as if you didn't know each other. That was just fine with you. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. At first you worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. Oh gosh. Stop fixing this up with each other. It's not working. You weren't sure how well it worked though. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed. Though you never asked. You doubted he would tell you. Yeah. I do feel bad, I do feel sad, but I do appreciate how vastly different. It feels tragic. Of course it would have been wonderful if I was there to be there for Cove, but the fact that I'm not does make things more interesting since it is dramatically different. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast got taken off. 5 years later, it finally came off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did with school stuff overall. Okay, so this Cove is a lot more intellectual. I think my cove ended up being more sporty. But I like how this cove is more intellectual. Over the years, he still remained familiar in a lot of ways. He talked to people when they came to see him, but never really searched out company on his own. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of their work, just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad and further away. Learned that some heartbreaking things became less sad and further away, the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her Mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for the word. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She insisted on everyone calling her Elizabeth. So you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school, who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You started befriending new people yourself, like hubba, Derek Suarez. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work, if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed, in small and big ways. You had to. And as time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then before you knew it, school was over, and summer vacation had come again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in, wide awake but about to head out to enjoy your time off. I'm gonna say... it depends. Like, I guess I don't really sleep in. I didn't really sleep in because I wanted to play video games as like early in the morning. Wide awake, about to head off to enjoy your time off, playing video games. You made sure to slather on a generous amount of sunscreen so you didn't get burnt. Who said I've been thinking about going outside? I'm staying in, staycationing it in front of my video games. You were looking in the mirror, suddenly clothes you'd thrown on when your bedroom door opened without warning. Yeah, no. I'm gonna say it's more like snuggled in bed. I'm more couch potatoing it. Snuggled in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in. It was hot, but you still had the blanket up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want it intruding on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. You're still sleeping? Wow, get up. Go away. You pretended to still be asleep. You got up. You started to fake snore loudly. Morning. Go away. By the impatient tapping on her foot, you could tell she hadn't left. Get up now. I will come over there. So much for the lazy morning. Mom told me to tell you that Cove's at the door. Mr. Holden made him bring some happy summer gift over. Mom wants you to take it from him, say thanks or whatever. So calm down already. Be right there. Okay, fine. Really? That's great. I'm coming. I'll be there when I'm there. I'll be there when I'm there. Psh, I'll be there when I'm there. Elizabeth rolled her eyes and left, having done what was instructed of her. You roll out of bed, stretching arms up high and yawning. Time to get ready. You sat yourself in front of the mirror in the far corner of your room. Your reflection hardly even fit in the frame. You're very tall. Your reflection went over the whole length of the mirror. You're pretty tall. Your reflection fit comfortably in the frame. Your average height, pretty short. You're very short. I was pretty tall. Wasn't the tallest in my class, but I was pretty tall. Cove tended to be the only person around who was even taller, at least among teens your own age. You liked your height. You weren't sure how to feel about it. You were kind of self-conscious about it. I liked my height. It suited you well in your mind. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation, careless as they had been. Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You were a little bothered by the intrusion. Your plans for this special day were quickly bogged down. Well, at least there was some kind of present involved. You left your room, going down the stairs 2 steps at a time.